Welcome to Sports Scope, the most influential sports talk show in the nation.
What is today, the 19th?
Stay tuned for updates and great sports content.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler, on this third day of May here. We are, 2 days away from Cinco de Mayo on this Wednesday. Got a lot I want to talk about tonight. Also, I want to thank, make sure I got my man's name right here. Tempo Lee, making that new intro on the program. Appreciate that, man. Getting that taken care of. Now, I'll have Keith Engel in. I have Keith Engel in 30 minutes past the hour as soon as he gets done with his show. I was going to ask him about this New England Patriot draft. And a lot of people here in the Nashville area, that's where I'm broadcasting from, have issue with Will Levis. A lot of the fans are not really excited about Tennessee Titans drafting him. Ryan Tannehill using the term deja vu because he had to go through this last year when the team drafted Malik Willis. But, Keith Engel, really respect his opinion and insight. He said from the very beginning that he thought that Will Levis was the best quarterback in this particular draft. I'm going to get him, get his detailed opinion on that since I'm out of Nashville. Okay, so we're going to talk about that. I'm going to ask him about the New England Patriots. He has a good ear for what they're doing, his thoughts on their draft. This Aaron Rodgers thing, it's out of the AFC East. And the Jets add another Green Bay Packer to their roster and Randall Cobb today. So we'll get into all that. I'll have a few more announcements here in just a second. Let me go ahead and get the first and only break out of the way, and I'll be back here in 49 seconds here on Sports Scope. Hello, Sports Scope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and Sports Scope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to sports, that is sports with an S, another S, scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program. All righty then, I'm back live on All Links. I'm still getting squared away here. I'm always on the run, I'm getting my tie squared away. I feel like Rodney Dangerfield when he's getting his tie squared away doing the Tonight Show saying, I get no respect, okay? I get no respect. So anyways, finishing up with these announcements. Now, tomorrow, the Philly sports guy, hey, Kenny, how you doing, man? Boy, as a guy, he knows a lot about Rodney Dangerfield as a comedian friend I grew up with. Kenny, I ought to bring you back on the program sometime or on the program and talk a little football with you. Thank you, Pickles. Thank you, Pickles. Appreciate it. Yeah. So anyways, so the Philly sports guy got back to me. Jamie Paggs said that he will be on the program. He's going to try to be on the program tomorrow. Now, I've had him on here before. He says he might be able to make it happen. He'll be on the road, but should be able to do it. Just got back to me today. Now, Jamie Paggs, for those of you who have not heard him before, he is a super fan, Kenny. He is a super fan out of Philadelphia. Guy paints his face up. Went to the Super Bowl. He's a professional fan. Okay. Went to the draft this past week with the Eagles. He was in Kansas City in the draft. He was hanging out with Jalen Carter, the ninth pick in the NFL draft, getting him to do the Eagles chant with fellow Philadelphia Eagle Jason Kell. So I'm going to ask him about I can't get this caller squared away. I'm going to ask him about about that draft, about expectations going the next few years. What does he think about Embiid? You know, I was reading an article today that maybe Embiid, maybe they move on from Embiid. The 76ers here. So he knows everything about and I'm asking him about his career, how it's taken off here. Philly sports guy. I mean, he was with Brian Dawkins the other day, former Philadelphia Eagle great. He was a safety there for the. I think Brian's a Hall of Famer. Any Philly or any Pickles. So got a great show lined up tomorrow. Jamie says he's going to be on. If not, I've got plenty of stuff to talk about. There's plenty of stories to the Athletic that I've been toying through. Where's Dylan Brooks going to go? Memphis Grizzly. Plus Kenny Dobson. Rich Ferris will be on the program, I think Tuesday. He says he'll be able to make it. We're going to break down this draft. And again, 24 minutes from now, I will have Keith Engel, a really smart guy, TGI Sports. Going to ask him about Will Levis. He was very high on Will Levis from the get-go. And, you know, like I said, I'm out of here in Nashville, Tennessee, and the Tennessee Titans drafted Will Levis. Okay, Kenny. All right, now the Knicks barely win last night. And, you know, I'll say this. I had a lot of different theories about this. I mean, I screenshotted their box score, guys. I mean, I watched the game, and again, about like the Celtics game from last night, I'm watching this game and I'm thinking, man, the Knicks are going to go down 0-2 with Miami not even having Jimmy Butler. Okay, and then I'm watching and listening to and also going through Twitter, looking at some of the videos that's been posted throughout that game. All the stars have shown up there. Jessica Alba was there. Aaron Rodgers, the newly acquired quarterback, was courtside. Jerry Ferrara, Turtle from Entourage, was there. It was a lot of stars there present on the court there. A lot of movie stars and everything. And the crowd was very 1995. Obviously, you know, Spike Lee's there. He's all hyped up and stuff. And I'm starting to think, you know, after I slept on it and just about 20 minutes before I came on the program, I'm thinking maybe the Knicks players are a little nervous, Pickles. You know, the Giants, the New York Giants forever, guys, and you guys have known me for a while. I'm starting to think that the Giants, under Eli Manning, they used to play much better on the road. Much, much better on the road. They were road dogs, and they would lose a lot of their big games at home. And I'm starting to think, judging by that, I mean, a few clutch shots there by Brunson. If not for that Knick team is they're done. I mean, they're 0-2, losing 2 home games. So I do think that even though they did, Randall played a couple of years ago for the Knicks in the playoffs, and of course Jalen Brunson was with your Mavericks last year. He played in the playoff. I think the pressure, I do think the pressure is starting to get to the players because they're probably listening to shows like mine in a roundabout way. They're listening to the national media. They got WFAN radio up there. We saw the fact that the Celtics lost the night before last to a 76er team without Joel Embiid. He'll be back tonight. So a lot of talk of maybe the Knicks can get to the finals, you know, and you know, I've had Jeffrey Descovit on, and he said it's a big buzz about the Knicks. So I started to think maybe a lot of this, the players were the role. Listen to this. I was looking at the stat line here. The role players, the bench players, they usually they usually shoot the ball well at home. Statistics say they will shoot the ball well at home. That was not the case last night. I mean, that was not the case. I thought I had I've got all kinds of different screenshots here, folks. You'll have to bear with me. I mean, obviously, Randall had 25, come back from that ankle injury, looked great, 25, 12, and 8. He played awesome. Brunson was Brunson-like, 35 and 5 rebounds. But listen to their bench, folks. Toppington, 0 points, 1 rebound. Quickly, 6 points. Emmanuel Quickly, 3 points from Grimes. This Hartison guy, this backup center, who played 26 minutes, 5 fouls, 3 points, 9 rebounds. I mean, it's just like they're under a lot of pressure or something. Nobody showed up for the Knicks, and they barely won that game. I put out on that. I said, I think that this team, they had to fight for every point. A lot of that is Miami's been around a while. They're really well coached. They are not even a little bit intimidated by the New York Knicks, and you could see it in the play of them. But I do think that Pickles says the New York press strangles their players. I think they were feeling the pressure, like the Queen song said, under pressure last night. One time, it was a soundbite, Pickles, several years ago when Coach Thibodeau coached for the Bulls. And he looked at Derrick Rose and oh, God, what was that guy's name? I could see it. The tall, their center there, Joakim Noah. He looked at these guys and he told them to breathe. And I think that's what he needs to do to this Knicks team. Tell them to breathe. Don't press. Don't worry about all these superstars. They're here, guys, because you worked your rear end off during the regular season. You got that 5 seed. You out-hustled that Cleveland team. Now, let's not throw up here. That pressure a lot of pressure is fear of embarrassment and not being prepared. And that's what I would tell them. Hey, listen, guys, we are prepared. Now, that being said, this team does lack another scorer. I was looking at some of the potential free agents for the Knicks. And one of them would be or an acquisition per se. One of them, I thought maybe we Karl Anthony Towns. And Towns, he hates Thibodeau. And that's something I can bring back up to Carlos Mad New Yorker Chavez on Friday. He's always riding me about Tom Thibodeau, who runs his players in the ground. But Towns said that he played too many minutes. I never heard a player complain about getting too many minutes, but that's what Towns did. So my thing is, they're going to have to get somebody, I'll bring this up again on Friday when Mad New Yorker comes on, that maybe a Dylan Brooks, maybe he would be a good fit with a 27-year-old Dylan Brooks would be a good fit with the New York Knicks, because early on in his career, not the past 2 seasons, but the previous 2 seasons, this guy's averaging like 18 points, 9, 10 rebounds a game. They need that in New York. He's a good defensive guy, plays hard. Well, that's what Thibodeau likes. But they're going to need that, and maybe, just maybe, they go after. I mentioned this with Milwaukee too, by the way. Maybe they go after a Trae Young from a. Maybe they go after a Trae Young there from Atlanta. Okay, Tempo Lee, by the way, Tempo, I don't know if you see it earlier. I did play her intro, man. Good stuff there. To lead Tempo, put the intro in there. You must have heard me mention that before on the program. But anyways, yeah, Rose may go back to the Chicago. That's another thing. I don't know why he's not playing. I don't think Derrick Rose is played. He was another DNP last night. I don't know. Is Rose dealing with the injury? Yeah, man, no problem. I don't know if Rose is dealing with the injury. I did read something the other day that Evan Fournier, he's got some kind of injury he's dealing with. Because I noticed those 2 guys have not been activated for the New York Knicks. Now, I don't want to take anything away from Miami, but hey, Miami, you got outshot in your own gym by Atlanta. You fall to the 8th seed. You catch a break. Giannis gets that deep back contusion, a little bit worse than he's let it on. Very tough guy. You caught Milwaukee flat-footed, and you knocked them on the rear end. But don't act like that you played well all season, Miami, because you didn't. Miami they're also a team that has scoring droughts. I mean, they were about like the Kings the other day in Game 7 in that Sacramento Kings in that Golden State game where they went 6 or 7 minutes, couldn't score a bucket. One of the best offenses in the league. A lot of that is choking. A lot of that is choking and pressing on. So I don't know if the Knicks can win this series, folks. I do think that Jimmy Butler is banged up. I do think, obviously, Tyler Hero's down. I get a sense that, history will say this Miami team that an 8 seed beating a 1 seed, plus they've got injuries. New York should be able to stop hyperventilating about the pressure, just play, and maybe Thibodeau hit that bench up a little bit more and play Derrick Rose. Even if you got to play him for 12 to 15 minutes between the end of the second quarter and the beginning of the third quarter, I'm not sure you want to play him with the Jalen Brunson. That's too much ball-centric play. That will throw off your offense even more. Rose does have a little bit of Russell Westbrook in him, a little bit more mild-mannered. He's got some Westbrook in him where he can be ball dominant at times, but the Knicks are going to have to shake things up, and I hope that Thibodeau is not going to be hard-headed and stick to this lineup come Hades or high water. And I do not want to hear Carlos Mad New Yorker Chavez say, I told you so. Yeah, Pickles says use quickly more. I was interviewing with Dave Harris, guy in the UK, Pickles. He says his favorite NBA player that he's watched coming up and everything is Emmanuel Quickly. He says he likes this guy's work ethic. And I thought that's interesting, So maybe, you got to use Quickly more. He's very young. Put some Derrick Rose in there, man. I know Derrick Rose can get you a few points there. So we'll see how that one plays out. Now, this other game, I called that last night. I said I thought that the Lakers would catch Golden State flat-footed, and they would beat them inside. And boy, did they, Pickles. I tell you, the Lakers last night, I want to say it was like 52-38 from points in the paint. Let me make sure and get this. Okay, here we go. Like Steve Harvey would say. All right, Lakers, 54 points in the paint to 28. The Golden State Warriors, this is at home, folks. 24 fouls to the Lakers 12. That's because they're getting the ball higher percentage, getting the ball closer to the rim, scoring. And then they go on the road and get that win at Golden State. Skip Bayless even said today that he is switching his pick from the Golden State Warriors to the LA Lakers, like I was telling Jeffrey Deskovic. Great guest there, man. Yeah. He likes to bounce around. I might have to steer him in the right direction, and let him know that I'm driving this car. But I love Jeffrey. He's great, man. But I was telling him last night, I do think the Lakers going to win this thing in 6, and I thought they were going to win last night. Vanderbilt is playing great defense out there. I like the blocks that he got, and of course, AD. We know what Anthony Davis can do. Those bench players. So that's going to be a really good series. Golden State will probably bounce back. They're really well coached. We'll see. I'm sure they're going to win tomorrow night. And when it goes back to LA, that's when that series is going to be interesting. Still say it'll probably be Lakers in 6, but AD will simply, as I predicted, play well. But here's the thing. Does AD stay healthy? That's a $64,000 question, Pickles. And speaking of celebrities returning, the Lakers get good again. They start filling the arena with celebrities again. Patrick McEnroe, all those guys. John McEnroe, the one that will hit you in the head with a tennis racket. So a lot of people thought that maybe Jack Nicholson was on his deathbed. Well, now he's coming back and sitting on the court. Like Eminem said, I make Vanilla Ice want to rap again. This Laker team is getting Jack Nicholson, 85-year-old Jack Nicholson, putting his suit back on and coming back in there watching the Laker games. I'm not a huge Laker fan, but I still like Jack Nicholson. I liked him in Batman. I thought he was pretty wild in The Shining. Of course, good as it gets. He's got a whole bunch of movies. Kenny, that movie that Jack Nicholson played in, where he was a anger management therapist, was hilarious. With Adam Sandler, living up there in New York with my man Kenny up at the time, when Adam Sandler was wanting to shoot basketball with us at Fordham University, and we had our roommate, our neighbor's ID, and I kind of looked like one of our neighbors there, and we were two college kids, which we really wouldn't. We was just two guys that renting out a studio apartment there, but the security let us go play basketball at that outdoor court at Fordham University in New York, but they wouldn't let the very famous Adam Sandler play basketball there, which I thought was hilarious. We later found out, this was in May of 2002, that they were filming a movie called Anger Management. He was really good in Chinatown too. So you got the stars coming back to LA. You got the stars coming back to New York. I expect both of them to win. Now, New York is going to have to quit choking now. They're going to have to make some adjustments. And but I still think they'll probably find a way, probably in 6 maybe, or 7. But we shall see. Again, we got Embiid playing tonight. And so we'll see how that works out here. All righty then. What else was I going to talk about? It was a weird kind of contract I was reading about. I didn't get a chance to talk about this yesterday. But and I'll bring this up with Keith Engel, is this oddball contract. And this could be. See, here's the thing in NFL, switching gears back to the pigskin, from the round ball to the pigskin, is Jordan Love. This is a really oddball contract, but the cost of having a quarterback nowadays, and there's a thin line between overpaying and getting a good bargain on an NFL quarterback. You don't want to. Market value can be crazy sometimes, right? You hear that term, market value this and market value that. And I'm looking at Jordan Love. So Jordan Love, the 5th-year option was not picked up for Jordan Love, the new Green Bay quarterback. Now, he's in year 4 now, right? He's in year 4. Instead of giving him a 5th-year option, they sign him to this team friendly and save about $6 or $7 million here, from my understanding. And they're just going to roll with him that way, and that is an interesting way to get a guy that you're not really sure about. Keep him on the somewhat of cheap. And I'm saying this because they're not really sure. They did have a decent draft though. They did have a decent draft, and so they take this Jordan Love here. They give him this contract. He's got to be happy. It's better than a 5th-year option. It's not as good as a 5th-year option, but it's a little bit of insurance past this year to give him a little bit of insurance and maybe give him another full year and another free agency, which Green Bay can't do much with, and another draft behind him, and to see if this guy can play or not. But you know what? They're over and under win total. According to Vegas, it's the exact same as the New England Patriots at 7.5 wins for this Green Bay team. Now, they drafted Luke Musgrave in the second round. This is a tight end out of Oregon State. This guy was one of those tight ends that was talked about, not named Michael Mayer or Ken Cade from Utah. I want to say he was the third tight end out of that group that was being talked about a lot. Now, so they got him in the second round, and they took Jalen Reed from Michigan State. So they did use the proper early draft picks to build around Jordan Love, but they didn't want to give him too much now. And the reason why I'm saying all this is I do think that most quarterbacks are not going to make it. That's why when you do get one, you see a team that pays them a lot of money. Sometimes they overpay these quarterbacks, So my thing is that the new wave in the NFL could be keep your team together and go 4 years on your quarterback and don't pick up the fifth. Remember, Daniel Jones's fifth-year option wasn't picked up. I mean, they re-signed him, but Daniel Jones's fifth-year option wasn't picked up. So we saw what the 49ers did last year with the 7th-round pick to fit their scheme. If you're not really sure, and a guy has a pretty good season in year 3 and year 4, not unless he's Joe Burrow or Josh Allen, how many Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes are there? I mean, we're talking 5 quarterbacks, maybe, 5 quarterbacks that are locked down, top of the line, franchise quarterbacks. Everybody else is overpaid pretty much. I may be missing a few, but you got the majority. 75% of these guys are overpaid. So this could be a new model. Instead of breaking up your team and letting people walk, just draft another quarterback that fits your system. And that's what I said Baltimore should do. This is what I said Baltimore should do with that system and keep that same coordinator. Draft another Lamar Jackson or somebody close to him and keep that same point. Instead of paying the Lamar a big chunk of money, you're just replacing one position. If you have a really good, and somebody's going to try this eventually, instead of replacing 3 or 4 just to pay that quarterback, he better be all world if I'm going to pay him a big bunch of money. See what Carlos saying. It's not the quarterback, it's the system and support. Yeah, well, if you have all the system around you and you have the offensive line around you, that would help out a million, Carlos. That would help out a whole heck of a lot. Just like Carlos says, just like Jeff George and Steve DeBerg, those guys could throw. Yeah, Jeff George could throw the ball a country mile. He was just not a very good teammate, from my understanding. And I've listened to people like Jason Whitlock went to high school with him. And that was a big thing. He just wasn't a very good teammate. He was not a Jalen Hurts type of teammate. He was more of like a Kyler Murray, which that could be a topic for tomorrow or possibly next week. Guys, I think, and I'll say this, and I know that Keith is going to be here in a minute. Arizona, this is something I could ask the Philly sports guy tomorrow. Arizona could be planning for next year with all these moves they made, and they may just be planning, if they bring Kyler Murray back in the middle of the season, they may be planning to tank and simply trade Kyler Murray next year or dump him and take the dead money. That's a lot to get into. I've got the great Keith Engle back behind stage here. He is 1 minute early. Hey, Keith, how you doing, man? Can you hear me?
Hang on.
There you are.
I deleted me and I did, right? No, I can't hear you at all. How about now?
I can hear you, brother.
Hang on a second.
Okay.
I don't know what I did.
Oh, well, I can hear you now. Fine. If you can hear me.
I can't hear you, but I can hear me.
Okay.
Bear with me a second.
All right.
There we go. I hear you now. How you
Okay,
doing?
man. Yeah, I was just talking about that weird contract that the Packers gave Jordan Love. I just don't think they believe in they be trying a new model where, you know what, we're not going to pay this guy even the 5th-year option. We're just going to trim $7 million off of here. And here's my thing, Keith. How come teams won't just have a really good, easy system? And most of these quarterbacks aren't air quote franchise quarterbacks. Just keep replacing their quarterback every 4 years.
You know, the Ravens actually talked about doing that before they signed Lamar Jackson. They talked about, guys matriculating through the system, right? Just like a college player, and then just replacing him later on. So you may see teams go to that to avoid paying these guys these astronomical contracts that are just way out of control.
They're getting worse every year. Look at what a lot of people, and even I want to say one of the Eagles or might have been a 49er says, if Brock Purdy don't get hurt in that game, they probably, with the quarterback that's a rookie, beat that Eagle team.
Yeah, I think they would have, actually. I liked them to win that game, and they were out of it, obviously, in the first series. It was, never going to be in doubt. I got to ask, not to change the subject, but I have to know what prompted this comment from Carlos to mention Jeff George and Steve DeBerg in a comment. What was that in regards to?
He heard me rant about just putting the team around the quarterback and just and moving off the quarterback. And I think we were talking about quarterbacks who didn't have chemistry, and Jeff George is all about Jeff George.
I wouldn't put those two guys in the same sentence because Steve DeBerg was a classy individual, played a long time in this league, and he was not a superstar, but he's certainly a better teammate and player than, in my mind, than Jeff George ended up being in the NFL.
Yeah, well, I guess now he's saying those guys look horrible because of coaching it. Carlos is.
Stop it, Carlos. It's always
you know how he is.
Jeff George just can't be a jerk, right? Because that's what he is, and never made total use of his talent. It's not coaching. He was everywhere.
It was him. I mean, Jason Whitlock went to high school with him. He said he's always had a lot of talent, and I'm the greatest of all time. And he was very arrogant guy and just hard to deal with. But he was really talented. He could throw the ball a country mile.
He played for like 9 teams. It can't be all the coaches. I'm sorry.
It can't be the coaches. It's got to be you at some point, Jeff George.
I tell people this all the time when they have a problem with people or jobs or whatever it is, and they go, "This always happens." And I go, "Well, what's the common denominator here? It's you."
Pickle says Jeff George had bazooka forearm, but he threw it up in the stand. That is true.
He did have a great arm.
Yeah, he had a great arm. So, anyways,
a lot of talent.
Yeah. So, what are your thoughts now? I was reading these post-draft wins and loss totals or expectation over and unders, and the Patriots are picked last at 7.5 in the AFC East. What's your thoughts on their draft, man?
I thought they had a good draft. I really did. I mean, it's a lot of fans and maybe some pundits aren't because they didn't go wide receiver and any of the big names. But
yeah,
I think they did what they accomplished to do. They needed to get more athletic, defense, and really all over the field. They needed to get deeper on the line. They did that. They got maybe the best cornerback in the draft at 17. He was top 10 talent. He fell to them at 17.
Gonzalez. I thought Gonzalez was going to be Remember, we were talking about maybe them getting Joey Porter.
I talked about Joey Porter, and I thought Witherspoon might even fall, but he went, much earlier than I thought he would go.
Oh, yeah.
But this Gonzalez kid, I didn't talk a lot about him because I didn't think he'd even be around, even if they picked him 14. So he's a nice talent. I mean, Keon White, they can play all along the line. This kid from Sacramento State, Mapu, this kid,
he's a 3rd-round pick. I've never heard of this guy.
He may play some safety besides linebacker. He's a great athlete. And listen, people go, oh, another reach, another Bill Belichick trying to show how smart he is. They did this with Kyle Duggar a couple of years ago too. He's a really nice player.
Nice.
So they find these gems. They brought in some nice players to compete and deepen the offensive line. I thought the kickers were interesting. First time.
They took a kicker in the 4th round. Jake Andrews from no, that was a guard. Excuse me. This guy from Maryland, Chad Rayland.
Yeah, second-rated. He wasn't the first kicker to go. The kid from Michigan was.
Okay,
but this kid,
that guy from Michigan's good though.
They needed. He is Moody. He was very good. Very good.
Yeah.
This kid comes highly rated. He's got a big leg. His accuracy might need a little work, but he can kick off, which really hurt them when Jake Bailey got hurt last year. And oh God, all of a sudden I'm going fading on my kicker. I'm fading on my kicker. Gosh, he's been around forever. What the hell am I doing?
Oh, Stefanski?
No, he's been gone for a while.
Okay. I thought you were thinking they were looking for a talented guy like Stefanski.
Oh, no. Anyway, when they lost him and he had to kick off, the kicker had to kick off, it really hurt them on special teams. They were really deficient on kickoffs, and he was not as accurate.
They gave up that touchdown to Buffalo late in the season.
Broke their back, two in that game. Two.
What a nightmare.
So they needed to upgrade at those positions. So I'm okay with that. I think the wide receiver position, where a lot of people wanted them to go early, and listen, the wide receivers, the first round talent wasn't, at least the Patriots didn't value it as being worth what you'd have to pay to draft these guys early. They took a couple of guys that have a really high ceiling, and it's low risk with the kid from LSU had a great sophomore season. Last year he struggled. He didn't get along with the coaching staff. He had some problems. Yep.
They got him late in the 6th round. They got some great athletes at LSU, man.
That was a good value pick. And Douglas from Liberty, I think, has got some upside too. So they, I think they think Thornton is going to improve. Just the overall Bill O'Brien influence on the offense. They think that they'll get by with what they have, and I think they will, and I think they'll be much better. Listen, I'll bet that 7.5.
So you're going to take over 7.5.
Yeah, if I only got to get 8 wins, I'll take the over all day long with it. They could get 8 wins and finish last too. So in the division, that's going to be a good division. Very tough.
A lot of people had a good offseason. Buffalo had a pretty good draft too. I like them getting Kincaid like that, and they got an offensive line help too. Yeah. What's your thoughts about Buffalo, man?
I like what Buffalo did a lot. I like Kincaid, as you said. He'll help in the run game, and he gives them a red zone target, which they didn't have previously at that position. And I do think they made some decent upgrades with the offensive line. You never know about these guys, Robert, but well, you bring in. I mean, the Patriots had 12 picks this year, the most they've had than I can remember. But you got to make use of what you have, and I think Buffalo did a really good job actually with their draft.
I know. So the last time I brought you on,
Nick Folk. I don't know how that name just skipped.
Carlos, Mr. Contrarian. Listen to him. He calls that a wasted pick. Kincaid is big time.
Carlos just wants to be contrarian, as you said.
He's Mr. Contrarian. Patrick.
How is that pick?
He's in love with the Eagles. I'll have Philly sports guy on tomorrow, by the way.
He'll be very happy because this was a great. Patrick's right. The Eagles, to get these two guys, to get Smith at 30. If they got Smith at 9, they probably would have been happy. I'll bet you they would have picked Smith at 9 if the other kid didn't fall to him, Carter. That's what I think.
Yeah. There was just a few players that were really that you just hear their names pop up a lot, and Carter was one of them. Even though he had a bunch of red flags, guys like Bijan Robertson. You mentioned Anthony Gonzalez. It was a really good cornerback draft, man. This probably may be the best cornerback draft in 15 years.
Yeah, I would say Porter falls to.
Pittsburgh in the 2nd round.
That's amazing. I mean, he's a great talent, and that shows you how deep the talent pool was at that position, as you say. And I thought it was interesting too. And you'll see it. And I know you want to talk a little about Will Levis.
No, go ahead.
Again, the talent overall, I think this is not a bad draft for good players, right?
Yeah.
But not a lot of really exceptional players at a lot of positions where guys wanted to pay the money they got to pay to draft them early in the first round. That's why you saw guys like Levis. Once Levis got by the Colts, and then got by maybe trying to think who was after them, even the Raiders, he was going to fall. There was nobody needed a quarterback, and you're not going to just take a quarterback and pay him first round money so that you have a second quarterback. You're just not going to pay him that kind of money. This kid fell into a good situation, I think. I really do. I know you're a Titans fan, so hopefully
I'm out of Nashville. The locals hate this guy because they watch those Kentucky games, Keith.
Not his
fault.
fault.
Us off the ledge, man.
I'm going to tell you something. This kid, you watch it, go back and watch his junior year because this kid was so good. And last year they had no offensive line. His top receiver got drafted. His other top receiver got hurt. This kid was trying to do it all by himself, and he was trying to carry the team. He made bad decisions because of it. He had a couple injuries. He has a bad toe that people are still theoretically worried about. But I think you go back and watch film of him playing before last year, and you'll see that you got yourself a good quarterback in a really good spot. He lost millions of dollars.
Yeah,
but I think
I got his stats here. He was 24 touchdowns, 13 picks in 21. He did have a 66 completion percentage. Last year, he had 19 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, and a 65% completion percentage. And, a good friend of mine is a huge Kentucky fan. He said the offensive line was decimated at times.
It was awful last year. I mean, he was just running for his life. And then he did get hurt. He missed a couple of games there at the end of the season too. So, but I've loved this kid since his junior year. I've been very high on him. I still think, Robert, he will be the best quarterback to come out of this draft. I think the quarterback class here is very overrated. And I think he'll be the best to come out of it.
Is it because he can make the big throws, or what do you like about him the most?
He's got the confidence. He's got the body and the arm to make all the throws in the NFL. He's got to get got to get a little bit going on upstairs, which a lot of guys do at this point. But I just think he carries himself like an NFL quarterback. He's cocky. I should say he's confident without being cocky. And I think, he got his confidence broken a little bit, and it may not be bad for him to fall like he did. Yeah. I think in the long run, it'll probably behoove him to do so. I mean, go to the Texans and stink it up for 5 or 6 years. You go to a decent organization like the Titans, who I think, he'll sit a year probably behind Tannehill because I don't see that moving him.
Right. And Tennessee can be that's my thing. I think the Titans will be very competitive this year because they still got a lot of their key pieces.
Yeah.
What do you think? That Sonorski guy, I thought he was a great pickup for Tennessee. I didn't think he'd be there at 11.
No, I didn't either. I thought he'd be a top 10 pick easy, maybe even top 5. He's a really good. He's probably the best offensive lineman, I think. Yeah, maybe I'll give Paris Johnson the best. Skoronski,
because he's a true left tackle.
Yeah.
And Skoronski can play everywhere, though. That's what they said.
A lot of versatility along that line, which is important today too.
Yeah. So that was my whole thing. Is I would have been annoyed if they would have. There was rumors they was wanting to trade all the way up to 3. And get Levis at 3 with Arizona. They didn't do that in the first round. They did it in the second round. And I think Houston doing that. I'm not sure. I like Stroud, but I figured that, Stroud's coming from that spread. I don't know if he fell to a good spot there with the defensive-minded head coach there with Houston, man.
Houston had a good draft, though, too. I mean, they got the quarterback. I thought they were going to take Will Henderson the whole time.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm unsure that they would have taken Stroud if they weren't making that trade with Arizona at the same time.
But they traded a lot, though, man.
They did, but again, to get good guys, you got to make bold moves, and they got 2. Henderson's going to be a cornerstone player on that defense. So you got a defensive minded coach, as you said. He's a really good player. Stroud, I'm not so sure about, though, because Ohio State's not known for churning out, top NFL quarterbacks. So
Yeah, yeah, that's interesting. Now, the last time I had you on this program, Keith, Aaron Rodgers was not actually signed with the Jets. Now they brought Randall Cobb over. I still like that move. What do you think about Rodgers going to the Jets, man?
Obviously not being a Jet fan. I can tell you that this is a good move for the Jets. I mean,
yeah.
What do you got to lose? You don't have a quarterback. Your plan B is all signed everywhere else, so there's nowhere else to go.
That is true.
You got a 2-year window with a team that's got a good enough talent to contend in the AFC now with a quarterback. That's what they went and got. Their defense is championship worthy. That's a great.
And they took another pass rusher. Yep. I was reading that Saleh likes to have 6 pass rushing rotating players. Yep. He wants Rodgers to have the best defense he's had probably since that 2010 team that they won the Super Bowl with.
Yeah, I would agree. And look, the whole thing could blow up, right? I mean, he could he could go hard anytime. It could all blow up, but to me, it's worth a shot. If I'm a Jet fan, I got a 2-year window to win a Super Bowl with. Yeah. The guy's got talent for as nutty as he is. He's got some talent.
Well, he's at the Knicks game last night.
He was at the Knicks game the last 2 games. And Rangers Saturday anyway as well.
Yeah, and I'm glad you caught that. The Jets, they put all that money in 2 years. So if he stays there a 3rd year, he's going to be like a $57 million cap hit. If he retires after that 2nd year, it's 0 dead money.
You can bet he's got 2 years in New York, and that's going to be all there is. So,
well, I just hope he don't get mad after 1 year and retire.
Well, there is that possibility too. I mean, look at this whole thing. This is a wild experiment, right? And it could go really good or it could go really bad. So, but me, if you got the Jets' history, what do you got to lose? I mean,
that is true.
Roll the dice.
Yeah, that's true. And I was looking at what is this? FanDuel. FanDuel has the Jets finishing 2nd odds-wise, and Buffalo's still 1st, Miami, and then New England. How would you compare the East to the AFC? I think the AFC North is going to be really hard, but man, the AFC East is no walk in the park now.
Yeah, I think the 2 East divisions are the best divisions in football. The AFC.
Oh, yeah.
I think they're the best 2 teams because you still got Cleveland in the Central. Or I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, they were the Central for a long time.
Yeah. Sorry, I had a little time left. The North, they're still. Pittsburgh is making their way back. The Ravens always seem to be lacking something.
Yeah.
So I don't think they're quite as strong as both. I think the 2 East are going to be the toughest because you can put the Patriots at 7.5 all you want, and you can tell me that. Bill O'Brien's not enough to turn that offense around. Just having a guy who knows offense is a big step up. So you can't. That's not going to matter. It is.
Yeah, their line will probably be better. Like you said, going back to the Patriots, didn't they pick up an offensive lineman early?
They picked this kid from Troy, Blake Andrews, his center, but he also can play along the line quite a few positions as well. They took a kid out of Eastern Michigan and right behind him. A couple hours later. So they took 5. I want to say they took 4.
Well, they have a lot of players in their draft. I was looking at their.
They did 12. Yeah. They had 3. They had 3 4th round picks here. The guard from Troy, that kicker, and then they got an Eastern Michigan guy, Sidney Sell. I don't know. It sounds like some Chinese food, but I'll take it, man. If he can block, brother. UCLA guy, they picked an offensive lineman. UCLA in the 5th round. I like that pick too. What I like is they get deeper and they have some competition in camp because some of these veterans maybe they'll play better with getting pushed a little bit too. You know, like Isaiah Wynn, if he's around, they need a little push because they've fallen into an awful rut. Strange is the only guy that I like on that entire offensive line at the moment. But now they got some guys to come in and push them, and I like what they've done. I really like what they did here.
Yeah. And what's the deal with DeAndre Hopkins? There was rumors that maybe New England was going to get him, then Buffalo. What do you think the problem is? Is Arizona just asking too much in return?
I'm guessing they're asking for too much, and his contract, is also prohibitive for some teams. I don't see the Patriots taking that contract on. If he's not willing to restructure it, he's going to limit himself, and Patriots aren't going to be interested at that price. Now I hear he's probably going to stay. So there was a lot of rumors about him on draft day. I was on a show, a pre-draft show that night, like 2 hours before the draft, and one of the guys, and I won't throw him under the bus here, was reporting that it was a done deal, and reported by NBC Sports that the Tennessee Titans and the Cardinals had completed a trade for that third-round pick, and DeAndre Hopkins was part of it.
Oh, wow.
And he was coming to the Titans, and they were giving up a bunch of draft picks.
Oh, God, that would have been annoying for a young team like this.
Yeah, you need to bring in
I'm glad they didn't. That would have kind of irritated. Some of my friends would have liked that. Last time Tennessee traded for a star veteran was Julio Jones, and we're still
how'd that work
over that.
Yeah,
second round pick, and he was $15 million down the drain. We'll never get that back.
And Hopkins is kind of the same. Julio Jones was a great player. Was it even when he signed with the Titans
7-8 years ago?
And he's not anymore. And guys tend to do that. They chase these guys who were good and pay them way too much money. And Hopkins was good, and I don't think he's ever going to be that good again.
Yeah, that is interesting stuff. Let me look in here and see if I'm not missing anything, man.
Can't stay on the field either, right, Robert?
So, what do you think? How do you see this Green Bay team working out? They had a pretty good draft though around Love.
Yeah,
Musgrave, I like that tight end they got.
I'm sure when they picked the edge rusher with the first pick that Aaron Rodgers was getting ready to tweet out "same old Packers," but listen, I think
that's what I was thinking too for a second.
Yeah, I think that team will be all right. They didn't have a bad draft. You just said we just don't know what you have in Jordan Love. Maybe they do because they see him practice every day, but nobody else knows what they have in Love. The talent around him is a little lacking, obviously. I do like the kid from South Dakota State they draft last year. Watson.
Was that Watson?
Watson. He was last year.
Oh, yeah, he was good, man. He was really coming on at the
end of the year, he came on really strong. Now, unless he gets traded to the Jets here before the trading camp.
I do not agree with the Jets signing Randall Cobb. Man, he played like 5 games last year.
Listen, I'm sure Mercedes Lewis is on the clock to come in there next because he's one of Rodgers' boys. He can't play anymore, but Rodgers likes to have him around. So
37-year-old blocking tight end.
Yeah, he'll probably be on this team before long. So.
Jordy Nelson was trending on Twitter earlier this morning.
That's funny. I don't see where Randall Cobb's got a place on his team. What's he going to be, the 5th receiver? I mean, there's guys better than him on the team.
I like Corey Davis is better. If Corey Davis has got a healthy hamstring, I think he could really hit his talent level with the Rodgers. Lazard was pretty solid. He wasn't great. But and Garrett Wilson's a true number one. They've already been throwing the ball around.
Wilson's a great player. He's gonna be. He stays healthy. He'll be one of the greats for sure. And I like Lazard. Like you said, he's not going to set the world on fire, but he's a Cole Beasley type player.
Yeah.
Right? He's just going to annoy people right and left and catch 9 or 10 balls a game, and that's right, 6 or 7 balls a game.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously Detroit's probably the favorite, wouldn't you say? Or do you still like maybe Minnesota? I didn't like their draft, though.
I didn't like their draft at all. I thought they were going to take Levis. If somebody was going to get him later in that first round, I thought they were a perfect spot for him, similar to where the Titans are.
Yeah.
But they chose to go a different way, and it looks like they'll probably have to keep Cousins for a while. They did take a quarterback, though, at some point. Was it Jake Haffer? Did they take from?
I'll have to look and see. They didn't take anybody. They didn't take Hendon Hooker, which
no, it was later. They had a run of quarterbacks there in the 4th and 5th round. There are a lot of quarterbacks went there.
Who took that Fresno State guy?
Jake Haener. That's who I was talking about. I thought it was the Vikings. Let me take a quick look.
Because you know what? A lot of people keep talking about that guy. Like he may be like the big diamond from that draft. You know.
There was a lot of talk the Patriots might be interested in six rounder. So, but let's see, where did he sign here? Saints. Get drafted.
Okay. Yeah, back up Derek Carr.
Yeah.
It just depends on who Dennis Allen's going to put around him as far as coaching wise.
Yeah.
But
he went a little further, though. He went to 4th round, 127th pick. I mean, mostly I'd seen him only as high as a 5th round. So I thought, the quarterback.
You're a college football guy. What do you think about Stetson Bennett going in the 4th round to the Rams?
Another shock for me. I mean, I think it's a good
high, wouldn't it?
I think it's a good spot for him. Potentially. I don't know how good he can possibly be on the next level. We'll find, and he doesn't have to find out right now. You know, Matthew Stafford's going to play a couple more years. I thought it was kind of high. I thought he was a 6th round pick. I did think he'd get drafted, but not in the 4th round. So it was kind of a reach maybe for the Rams, but a good spot for him.
Yeah. Bennett is. Bennett did look good at times, even though he had a lot of talent around him.
You know what, though? He's a winner. There's something to be said for guys that win.
He is. He's a winner, plays hard. He did get that public intox charge. That's why I thought maybe he may not even get drafted or go late in the 7th round.
Guys, obviously they overlook a lot of stuff today, right? I mean, Carter's.
Yeah. He's a Georgia Bulldog. That's why, if you draft a Georgia player, I was going to tell Jamie tomorrow, he might want to, kind of hold his breath. they got the whole Georgia football roster down there up there.
In Philadelphia, I think they drafted 5 of their defensive players in the last 2 years.
The Kobe Dean and all the. And I was watching a video of Howie Roseman. He's calling Nolan Smith, really fast edge rusher they got, and he says, "Man, as a Florida Gator, it kills me to draft another Georgia player." I'm gonna tell Jamie I've taken back everything nice I've ever said about Howie Roseman being out here in Tennessee. I didn't know he went to Florida.
Well, there you go. You obviously got to put him on your hate list now.
They probably had the best. Don't you think they had the best? Or maybe Pittsburgh, though. I don't know. Pittsburgh seemed to hit it out of the park, too, man.
I would say I still like the Eagles. I think the Eagles coming away with those 2 guys for that defensive front. It's amazing to get that Smith at 30. I don't know. The rest of this league is sleeping. I don't know what's going on.
Pickle says half of these dogs can go sideways. Well, I don't know what they're putting in the food down there. I mean, they play great football, but they're wild off the field, man. Well, we took Isaiah Wilson here in Nashville a few years ago. He was a total bust, a left tackle out of Georgia, 1st round. I think he played 1 snap for Tennessee, man.
But these guys, the guys that the Eagles took last year, have produced.
Yeah. Now, what was the deal with the Kobe Dean? I didn't see him show up anywhere.
Well, he was hurt a lot last year.
Oh, was he? Okay.
Yeah, it's funny because he went a lot later than I thought he'd go last year. He was all over the Patriots draft charts until late in that draft, and he ended up going, I think, I feel like
3rd round.
3rd or 4th round, yeah.
Yeah, I thought he was going to be a 1st round talent too, linebacker.
A lot of the mock drafts had the Patriots take him in the 1st round. I know that.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So he's kind of small. But again,
Jordan Davis was he was hurt some last year, but you put him in. I know Carter's he could potentially be, like a Warren Sapp level player. Maybe Aaron Donald if he gets his head right.
He's a great player if his head's right. You're right. I thought the Lions would take him actually and put him next
at 6. I had him taking him at 6 in my mock.
Yeah, I was a little surprised that they passed on him, but again, obviously some teams didn't want to take that gamble on him.
Yeah. Philly added DeAndre Swift. Now I like Swift, but the thing about Swift, he was hurt a lot in Detroit, man.
Well, when he played, he was really good. Now, here's the thing with Philadelphia. It isn't just the guys they drafted. They got Swift, and they also got Eckler the day of the draft.
They didn't. That's what whatchamacallit was saying.
I thought that didn't happen.
No, it didn't happen.
No, because I didn't just.
No, they got Rashard Penny from Seattle.
Well, I'm not a big fan.
I can look up their depth chart, which is off the hook, by the way. Jeez.
They didn't get Eckler?
No, man. If they got Eckler, it's like they're playing on a different.
That's what I get for listening to other people. And it wasn't Mac because I heard that draft day. I heard that.
Yeah. Rashard, here's their depth chart. Rashard Penny, Kenny Gainwell, Boston Scott. They got to keep Boston Scott when they play the Giants,
Yeah.
He gets a touchdown every time he plays the Giants.
Yeah, so you just keep him on the field. You have him inactive for the other 15 games and just have him active for those 2.
Right.
They had a great draft. They're still going to be the team to beat in the NFC right now, I would think.
They're over and under. What do you think it'll be, like 13 wins or something?
The division's going to be tough, so it'll be 13 to be good. 12, 13 wins would be really good to win that division because the Cowboys will still be competitive. The Giants, I think, will be better.
Yeah. And they got Hyatt was good. They got the best value draft from what I read.
Yeah.
The Giants.
The team formerly known as the Redskins, who knows? I mean, they should be better than what they are.
All right, Prince. Yeah, they got a pretty good that corner from was it Mississippi State? I read it was a great corner according to the all the scouts. This cornerback draft, man. I don't know if any guys are going to play as well as the Jets guy, Sauce Gardner, but that don't mean they're not like a bunch of Champ Baileys or somebody.
Because that's setting the bar pretty high. Because Gardner's really good, and you got to have a really good cornerback in this league. You cannot survive in this league anymore without cornerbacks, and
that's what I like. And he's going to get going back to Gonzalez. He's going to get the best coach in New England. I mean, look how good Gilmore played under Belichick, man.
The Patriots defense they haven't had the talent or the athleticism, as I said earlier, in a couple of years, but they've been coached up really well, and they get exposed against, the Buffaloes of the world. But for the most part, they play pretty good bend but don't break defense. You saw it against the Bengals. They should have won that game last year. I mean, there's a couple of games I can point out where.
And look how good the Bengals were playing. That's a positive for the Patriots, if anything. The Bengals were killing it last year. I thought they were going all the way to the Super Bowl. Yeah. And y'all came all the way back on that Christmas Day. That was a cold day, man.
Sure was. And I thought they were going to win that game. And, just a bad turnover at the end of the game cost them.
Yeah.
Again.
With Bill O'Brien coaching that offense, you probably do win that game against the great Joe Burrow, that's something. See, that's what's really interesting. They can be last place or potentially first place.
I agree. As a fan, I do try to, and I have two sides of me, right? The fan who wants them to do well, and I can step out, and I can be very critical of my teams.
Yeah.
This team could be, as you said, they could be first or they could be last. And I think Bill O'Brien's worked 2 wins to this offense.
Yeah.
Based on what they did last year. If I just take the players they had last year and forget about these newcomers, they're 2 wins better with a real offensive play caller and I feel bad for Matt Patricia. He was put in a no-win situation.
Yeah.
And
he ended up signing with another team, didn't he?
He's with the Eagles now. He's a defensive advisor or whatever.
Okay.
I don't think he's going to be on the field. I think he'll be in the front office.
Yeah, that was really weird. Well, Keith, I appreciate it, man. Hey, who do you like in these playoffs, in NBA playoffs? I don't know anything about hockey, but
I like the Suns out west.
You still like them even though Paul's hurt?
I do because, again, I think Booker's that good. Okay. And Durant, when he's healthy as he's going to be, is still one of the top 5 players in the league. I think they'll come out of that. The West isn't exciting me. The Warriors, though, I mean, they got the heart of a champion. You saw them coming back against Sacramento.
I had the Lakers beating them in 6, but I don't know. I mean, just one game.
My heart would like to say the Knicks in the East, but I think they'll get by Miami, but I think they'll have a hard time with either Philadelphia or Boston. I think Philadelphia might come out of the East finally.
Yeah. Do you think the Knicks are pressing a little bit because all the hype?
I think they did. In game 1, definitely. Last night, no. I thought they played pretty. They didn't shoot the ball great. Neither team shot the ball great. I was
holding my breath last night, man. They were down late in that game.
Yeah, and they pulled ahead, and then they kind of looked like they might give it away near the end. But
there's a lot of stars out there. I thought, man, maybe they're pressing. It's so loud. I mean, even for Knicks land, that was loud.
I got to tell you, the Garden, though, in these first 2 series. That Garden hasn't been that way in 20 years. I mean, it's been as you said, loud.
I thought it was just me.
I think they feed off that excitement. And you're right, the stars are all out. I mean, even Spike Lee is back in his front row seats
Jessica
now.
Alba was there. I mean, big stars.
And of course, the Knicks will fall short, Carlos. We know because it'll be because of Tom Thibodeau and no other reason. We know that. So
he's got a picture of Thibodeau on a dartboard, man.
What is short for the Knicks, by the way? If the Knicks won a series, I said this was a successful season. They turned it around. They were playing really bad basketball halfway through the season. Tibbs changed his approach a little bit. Some players stepped up and matured. And what's the ceiling? I mean, where do I say they fall short? If they lose to the Heat, then maybe they fell short. But before the season, I would have said making the playoffs and winning a series was a successful season.
Yeah. Who was that guy they got in the trade? His name is slipping my mind at the trade deadline.
Josh Hart.
Josh Hart.
They've been
great pickup there.
They've been a different team since he got there.
Yeah. Love me some Josh Hart.
And as I said, Thibodeau changed his approach a little bit, and he didn't just stick with his guys through thick and thin. He, Mr. Tibbs
overplays his stats. I'll talk to you about that Friday, Carlos. Carl Anthony Towns hates Tibbs, by the way.
Listen, every coach in the playoffs plays their stars all the minutes.
Yeah,
that's what they do.
But I was looking here. They're playing 9 guys.
They are, and they weren't. The only time they haven't is when Randall's been down or other guys have been hurt. So 9 deep.
Why do you think they're not playing Derrick Rose? Is he hurt or something?
No, I think he doesn't fit what they want to do anymore.
Okay.
And, he really has played very few meaningful minutes since midseason.
Oh, okay. I was just wondering what the deal was. I mean, because their bench was horrible yesterday, Keith.
Yeah, but the Grimes stepped up here during this regular season. He's played really major minutes. He's a shutdown defensive player too, which they didn't have in that backcourt. Rose certainly isn't that player. He's been very important to the resurgence of this team. So, look, they're going to go as far as Barrett needs to shoot the ball better. They all need to shoot the ball better. And Randall's health. If Randall's ankle is healthy, I mean, that's not somebody told me on my show, or it was Mac and Jack's show Sunday morning. I can't remember which one. I think it was one of my viewers, my regular viewers, that the ball that's like a black hole when it gets to Randall. That's not right. The ball doesn't stop moving when it gets to Randall.
He had a great game last night.
He facilitates better than any forward in the league, in my mind. He's a great passer.
Matter of fact, Randall may have had his best game in all the playoffs last night. Now, his ankle may be bothering him today, but it's a long layoff before they go back to Miami.
Yeah, they don't play again until when? Friday?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, so
NBA wants to stretch it out, man.
They will now. These series will get, longer and longer.
Yeah.
But I like the Knicks' chances here.
Yeah, I think so too. It seems like that the Heat will eventually fall apart. They're just playing on this really drilling high right now. It's like a sugar rush for them, and physically with that baseball-sized ankle, what I read that Butler has, I don't know how they're going to still hold up without Butler and Hero too. Yeah. But I was a little nervous for the Knicks yesterday, man, at the end there. God.
I will tell you that Spoelstra is one of the most underrated coaches in the NBA, though. He's
good. Yeah, he could pull it out of guys, man.
He does. He's had teams through the years. I go, how does he even win with his team? And he wins, 50 games and advances in the playoffs every year.
Who the bleak is Duncan Robertson, Tyler? Well, Hero, I kind of knew about him in college, but Bam, when's Bam ever going to take off? But when you write him for your dad, he does have a pretty good game, though. Yeah.
Look at. They're well coached, so they'll be in this series. It'll probably this series could very well go 7 games, and
like 1995 all over again.
It's a lot of fun to watch. It is a throwback for sure, and it's fun to watch. So
yeah,
enjoy
all right,
it.
TGI Sport. Now, when are you on again? I know you're on Fridays at 8 Eastern, right? 8 a.m.
8 a.m. Eastern with Carlos, the Mad New Yorker, with the Are You Serious show. Sundays with our Sunday Stream of Consciousness show.
What is that about? I got to start listening to that Sunday show.
It's literally what the title is. It's a stream of consciousness, and we're just all over the place. That show is. Robert, I will put together, 2 hours worth of stuff to talk about, and I usually don't get to like a quarter of it because my audience drives that show like crazy. I just kind of go where they go, and sometimes it's good places. Other times they've got me in trouble, and they got women outside picking in my house because I say that.
They're going to get canceled.
I'm probably been canceled. I don't even know it, but I just said
Carlos says, morning versus Larry Johnson. Boy, I had a guy on yesterday, Jeffrey Descovit. He was talking about the 1999 Knicks, and he was really taking me back, man. I thought, yeah, you know what? That was the best chance for Ewing to get a freaking ring. That 94,
90. What was the year where they missed the finger roll against the Pacers in game
95?
95, right? Yeah,
I watched that. That was the same series, if I'm not mistaken, where the game's never over if you got a guy like Reggie Miller.
Yeah.
I mean, what 7 points and like 20 seconds? Steals the ball, hits 2 threes.
ESPN turned a whole.
They did the 30 for 30 on that. I watched that game live, man, and I was thinking, this is unbelievable.
You mentioned morning. I remember. I can't remember the year. I want to say 98, maybe. Heat and Knicks. I remember Jeff Van Gundy holding on to Morning's leg when they had the big brawl. Remember? And he's
was it Marcus Camby that hit Jeff Van Gundy?
Maybe. I'm not
by accident. Sure. He punched somebody. They ducked, hit Gundy. Gundy got this bloody eye. It was a total disaster.
Yeah, like 8 guys got suspended on each side.
Total melee, man.
In the playoffs, you never see guys get suspended during a play unless it's
Reggie hit 3 shots in 1 minute. That is true, Carlos, and the Knicks fans were stunned. That was a class. That was like you said. They made a 30 for 30 about it.
And he sat there, John would Spike that whole game. That was a great.
People didn't want Spike to go to the games. They said he was bad luck after that.
Yeah, that was a good 30 for 30. That's a great series.
I love that one, man.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, Keith, I'll see you around, buddy, and I'll see you Sunday. We'll do the little tag team thing.
Yeah, I'll tag you in at 8:30.
All right, man. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.